All right, it is Friday at 2:05 Pacific time. Kyle Shanahan just addressed the media and revealed that Christian McCaffrey, after landing on the injury report on Thursday, did not practice on Friday. He was out there, according to the reporters on the scene. It looked like he was in a helmet and his shells, but he did not participate in practice after being limited on Thursday. Kyle Shanahan said that Christian McCaffrey is officially listed as questionable to play against the Seattle Seahawks week 1. So what does this mean? This means that, in my opinion, something happened at practice on Thursday. Christian McCaffrey, who had been healthy throughout training camp and even healthy during the first couple practices of this week, he did not have an injury designation after Wednesday's practice. So that to me indicates that something happened Thursday. But not something that would keep him from at least being out there and moving around a little bit on Friday. Is it a strain? Is it something minor? Is it something that is similar to last year? I think the differences between this year and last year, you remember Christian McCaffrey had the bilateral Achilles tendonitis that basically prohibited him from participating in training camp throughout August, right? He was fully healthy throughout training camp this time. He didn't have any noted injury. He was given days off, which was all part of the plan. The reports that I heard was that he was healthy throughout the offseason program, that the bilateral Achilles tendonitis was no longer in the picture, at least in the spring and into the summer. So this to me, again, just purely speculating, is sounding like Christian McCaffrey suffered something with his calf on Thursday. Maybe a calf strain, maybe a tweak, but it wasn't significant enough to keep him off the practice field entirely on Friday. No, he didn't participate in practice, but he was out there and he was doing rehab things, which injured players often do, right? They go off on the side field. They work with the members of the strength and conditioning staff to work through their injury while the team practices next to them. So is Christian McCaffrey going to play Sunday? I think I honestly at this point would be surprised if he did. Being listed as questionable, not practicing on Friday is not a great sign. You typically want the reverse trajectory, right? If you're going to play, it'll be okay. He didn't practice Wednesday, he was limited Thursday, and then he was a full participant on Friday. Then he plays Sunday. It's more likely that a scenario like that player is on the right trajectory, working towards playing. When it's you leave practice Thursday and then you don't practice Friday, particularly given his history with the calf injuries and the bilateral Achilles tendonitis, that would indicate to me that Christian McCaffrey might not play. Is like probably not going to play. I think that would be, if I'm editorializing a little bit, that would be my guess. And maybe he does play, and maybe he just had a little bit of tightness, and maybe it's not that big of a deal. Kyle Shanahan, in his press conference, did not say anything helpful about Christian McCaffrey's status other than to say that he's questionable. Um, so it's a coach's prerogative in the NFL. Certainly, they're not going to dive deep into the injury stuff. Maybe he will early next week, depending on if McCaffrey plays or not. But you certainly can't feel good about the fact that Christian McCaffrey showed up on the injury report on Thursday as a limited participant. Again, he could have been fully healthy starting practice, suffered an injury during practice, left practice, and that would earn a limited designation, right? And then to not practice Friday, of course, is concerning. So that means the 49ers have Isaac Orendo, a second-year player. Didn't play all that well in the preseason in limited time, dealt with a shoulder injury, has a history of hamstring injuries dating back to his rookie season and also his college season, which, raised some red flags on his draft status. Looked good at times as a rookie, but since then, the 49ers drafted Jordan James, a fifth-round pick out of Oregon, and they made a trade, a late-round pick for Brian Robinson Jr., who basically they traded for this exact reason, as an insurance policy for Christian McCaffrey, to potentially spell Christian McCaffrey so he could be more fresh in, November, December, January, should the 49ers make a playoff push and put themselves in that position. So I would imagine Brian Robinson Jr. gets a lot of playing time. I would imagine Isaac Correndo gets some playing time. And Jordan James listed as doubtful with the finger injury. He had surgery to repair a finger injury, so he didn't play in the preseason. He didn't get much training camp work. He is largely an unknown quantity when it comes to how he fits in the 49ers offense and how he's going to play this year. So it's not what you want. This is where there are going to be a lot of eyeballs on Brock Purdy, obviously. Juwan Jennings is back in the mix. He got his contract reworked this week to provide $3 million in playtime incentives. If he stays healthy, he would make that money, presumably. George Kittle, of course, one of the 49ers' most important players in both the running and passing game. I would imagine the 49ers are going to lean heavily on him, particularly in the passing game this season and starting Sunday in Seattle, of course. Ricky Pearsall. Can the 49ers get a 1,000-yard, 1,200-yard, 1,400-yard season out of Ricky Pearsall? He's a first-round pick. He's very talented. Athletically, he checks all the boxes. From a fit standpoint, we saw flashes last year that he looked like a Kyle Shanahan type of receiver. And when Kyle Shanahan drafts a receiver early, that's usually a sign he has a lot of belief in that guy, and those players tend to be really productive, whether it's Deebo Samuel, an early second-round pick all the way back in 2019, or Brandon Ayuk, was he 2020, 2021? I think it was 2020. Brandon Ayuk, either way, first-round pick, somebody who's been very productive, been an all-pro under Kyle Shanahan. Obviously, he's out. Ricky Pearsall is on deck. So can Ricky Pearsall be a super productive receiver like the 49ers need him to while Brandon Ayuk is coming back from injury? If they don't have Christian McCaffrey, they're going to need all of these weapons to produce because the Niners defense is largely a question mark at this point with all of the young players they have. And I think it would be asking a lot for all of these young players in their NFL debuts on Sunday in Seattle, one of the toughest places to play. It's a big ask to ask those guys to, come in and dominate and, hold the Seahawks to 10 points or fewer. And maybe they can, but Michael Williams didn't play at all in the preseason. Alfred Collins didn't look great. Nick Martin, we don't even think he's going to start just yet. A lot of faith in Upton Stout, but again, it's his first game. Jimmy Ward ended up being a really, really good player. Was pretty bad in his NFL debut against the Bears, the first ever game at Levi Stadium. You remember that. Brandon Marshall torched him for touchdowns. He ended up having a good career and was a really good player for a long time for the Niners, but he got off to a rough start. It's possible that that's true with Upton Stout also. So it's going to be a tough spot for the Niners on Sunday in Seattle, particularly if they don't have Christian McCaffrey. Again, I tend to think that he's not going to play, given that he missed practice on Friday. If I'm just reading the tea leaves and if I'm just speculating based on the fact that he was out there at practice, that he was moving around, that he had his helmet on and shells, that would indicate it's not a long-term injury. It doesn't seem like it's something that's going to keep him out 6-8 weeks. I think he probably tweaked his calf or experienced some tightness. The Niners might be ultra cautious with him and realize that, this is week one. We'd rather have you healthy for the remainder of the season than push you out there too early against the Seahawks. So that's just me speculating. I think Christian McCaffrey suffered a minor calf injury. I think going on artificial turf, the next 2 weeks is certainly a factor, right? The Niners go to New Orleans next week on an artificial turf game, and the Niners, frankly, should be good enough to beat the Saints without Christian McCaffrey. So if it requires a 2-week absence from him to get him healthy and to get him to where, the calf is feeling better and get him back on natural grass when the 49ers open their season at home in week 3, then I think that would make sense. So we shall see. Tough news. The 49ers seemed like they were going to have all their guys healthy. And then out of nowhere, Christian McCaffrey lands on the injury report with the dreaded calf injury after just a disastrous season last year, in large part because of bilateral Achilles tendonitis, which we know connected to calves. So that's all for now. Niners play the Seahawks on Sunday. We will have a live show reacting to that game as soon as it's over. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe to our channel. click the notification bell, leave comments if you have any, and we will talk to you guys later.